The diagram below shows triangle ABC with angle CAB equals to 35 degrees. The point D lies on AB such that CD is the perpendicular height. CD is equal to 7 centimeters and BD equals to 8 centimeters. And so here we have this diagram. Rounding your answer to 2 decimal places, calculate the length of the side BC. And so here we have BC. BC is the length. And what we have is we have to figure out what we have to determine. We have to determine what is the length of side BC. Now, we are dealing with a right angle triangle. And we know that it's a right angle triangle because here, this is 90 degrees. And which means that this must also be 90 degrees because angles on a straight line at a common point add up to 180. So if this is 90, this must also be 90. And so that makes this triangle a right angle triangle. And so what we essentially have is we have a right angle triangle that we're trying to find a missing side for. And if we have a right angle triangle and we have 2 sides that are already given, we're trying to find the missing side, the next missing side, we can use Pythagoras theorem. Now, Pythagoras theorem says c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Now, c is the hypotenuse. A is one of the sides and b is one of the sides as well. And so here we have c, all right? Here, for this one, this is going to be a. So this is a. And this one right here is b, all right? So c is the hypotenuse. A is one of the sides that we are given, and b is one of the sides that we are given. And so we have the substitute. So a is 7, so it's going to be 7 squared. B is 8, so it's going to be 8 squared. So we have 7 squared. What is 7 squared? Well, 7 squared is 49. And we have 8 squared. What is 8 squared? 8 squared is 64. So we have c squared is equal to 49 plus 64. And 49 plus 64 is 113. So we have c squared is equal to 113. And so what we have to do here is we have to take the square root of both sides. So this cancels with this. And so we have that c is equal to the square root of 113. And the square root of 113 is 10.63014,581. Next, notice that the question states, round your answer. It says rounding your answer to 2 decimal places. And so here, 6 and 3 are 2 decimal places. But in fact, 3 is the second number behind the decimal point. So we look at 0. Since 0 is less than 5, we cannot round up. And so we leave our answer as 10.63 and we eliminate the rest of the numbers behind the 3. And so BC is going to be equal to 10.63 centimeters. Next, we have to determine the size of angle CBD. Now we have this is C, this is B, and this is D. So we need to figure out what is the size of this angle B. In order to do this, we would use our SOHCAHTOA. Let's label our triangle. So this right here, angle B is theta. The side that's opposite angle B is the opposite side. The side that is opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, which we just figured out, 10.63. And the adjacent side is 8 centimeters. Now, what we're going to do is, remember, we're trying to find theta. Now, we can use any of the 3 trig ratios because we have the lengths of all of the sides. We have the hypotenuse, we have the opposite, and we have the adjacent. We know the lengths of all of the sides. So we could use any of the 3 trig ratios, but I would use tangent. So we can use tangent. And the reason why I want to use tangent is because notice that tangent involves the opposite and the adjacent. These are 2 sides in which we were given these values, 7 and 8. And so the safer route is to use the values that you were given instead of using the value that you had defined. Not saying that the value you had defined is wrong, but the safer route is to use the 7 and the 8. And so that is the opposite and the adjacent. And so tan theta is going to be equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And the opposite is 7. The adjacent is 8. And so we have tan theta is going to be equal to 7 over 8. Now, in order for us to find theta, we have to apply tan inverse to both sides of this equation. So we have tan inverse of tan theta, which is equal to tan inverse of 7 over 8. We cancel this with that, and so we have that theta is going to be equal to tan inverse of 7 over 8, which equals to 41.18592517. Again, we have to round our answer to 2 decimal places. So 8 is the second number behind the decimal. So we have to look to the right of 8. And we have 5. Once it's 5 or greater, we can round up. And so we have to add 1 to 8. And so we have 41.19, and that is theta. And so angle CBD is going to be equal to 41.19 degrees. Next, our goal is to find the length of side AB. So what we have here is we have to figure out what is the length of side AB. Now AB runs from here all the way to here. Again, AB runs from here all the way to here. But we already know what is DB, right? So we already know what DB is, that's 8 centimeters. If we can just figure out what is AD, we can take this answer and add it to 8 centimeters, and then we can get the length of AB. And so we have to focus our attention on finding the length of AD first. Now, in order to do this, we have to label our triangle. And so this is 35 degrees. When we look at the opposite of it, that we're going to get 7. So the opposite is 7. We do not know the adjacent, and we do not know the hypotenuse, but we only are trying to find out what is the adjacent. And so we have what the opposite is. We have that the opposite side is 7. We have the given angle, but we do not have the adjacent. We do not have what AD is equal to. And so we are going to use a trig ratio that involves the opposite and the adjacent. And so we're going to use tan theta. So we have tan theta is going to be equal to opposite over adjacent. The opposite, right? The opposite is 7 centimeters. The adjacent is x. And theta is 35. And so we have tan of 35, and that's going to be equal to 7. What is 7? 7 is the opposite over the adjacent, which is x. And I put tan of 35 over 1 so that we could be able to cross multiply. And so when we cross multiply, we have that x is equal to tan of 30x. So when we cross multiply, we have that x multiplies by tan 35. So we have x multiplied by tan 35 is going to be equal to 1 times 7, which is 7. And so we have x times tan 35, which is equal to 7. We divide both sides by tan 35. And this is going to cancel with this. So we get that x is equal to 7 over tan of 35. And so what we have here, we're going to divide. So we have 7 divided by tan of 35, which gives us 9.997036047. And so what we're going to do is what we have to do is notice that this is AD, right? So this is AD. We just found out what AD is, but we need to figure out what is AB. So we're going to add what we got for AD. We're going to add that to DB, and that should give us the length of AB. And so we have that AD is 9.997036047, but AB is going to be AD plus DB. And so we have this long decimal plus 8 centimeters. And when we add them, we get 17.990703605 centimeters. But writing it correct to 2 decimal places, this is going to be, notice that this is 7. So this is 7. So once it's 5 or greater, we can round up. And so we're going to add 1 to the 9. And when we add 1 to the 9, that's going to be 10. And so this 9 is going to turn into a 0. We're going to carry the 1 over. And so this 9, when we add 1 to it, it's going to turn to 10. So this turn into 0. And so we add 1 to the 7. And so that means that we're going to have 7 plus 1, which is 18. So it's going to be 18.00 centimeters. And that is the length of side AB, 18.00.